It's been nearly 10 years since the release of Mad Max Fury Road. The 6-time Oscar-winning picture was a smash hit with critics and audiences while making a respectable amount at the box office. Before that, the last time we saw Max was in Bartertown at the Thunderdome 30 years prior. But today, oh what a day, what a lovely day. That's because the long-awaited prequel, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, has charged its way into our theaters all shiny and chrome. So, how does it compare to what came before? Let's find out.
Remember me.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Brett Murphy, and for today's video, I have a brand new ranking for you all, as you are all about to witness me rank all 5 of the Mad Max movies. Before I hop into the actual ranking itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my ranking videos. There are well over 100 videos currently in that playlist for you to enjoy. So if movie rankings are your thing, then be sure to check that out and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so without further ado, let's hop right into things.
Hooray!
Coming in at number 5 is going to be Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I'll start off by saying, damn, what happened? The first 30 to 45 minutes of the movie are like a decent, forgotten 80s cult classic. Weird, strange, but oddly fun, however, not a good Mad Max movie. Then it comes to a screeching halt and becomes some weird Goonies or E.T.-esque kid-friendly bore fest. The only portion of the movie that actually feels like a Mad Max movie is the last 15 minutes or so, and even then it barely manages to feel like a Mad Max movie, if you ask me. I still like some of the goofier aspects, like the character names, the costumes, the set design, etc. And I really dug the ending. It gives Max that extra otherworldly aura that I think works out so well for the character. Outside of that though, I didn't find any of the characters to be even remotely interesting. In fact, most of them were super annoying. I think in the first little bit of the movie, Tina Turner was good, she was fine, and then her character went right in the shitter too. So really, it started okay, got way too slow in the middle, and then becomes way too silly by the end. I really just have no idea what they were thinking with this one. My number 4 pick is going to be the original Mad Max. On rewatch, this first Mad Max movie was much better than I remembered. The issue with my first time watch was that Fury Road was my introduction to Mad Max. So when I decided to go back and watch the original 3, I mistakenly went in with the mindset that they were basically going to be older versions of Fury Road. This is definitely not the case, as this original movie is very, very far from that. This is a much slower, more personal film. Most of the runtime is spent getting us familiar with this post-apocalyptic world, getting to know our villainous biker gang, and getting to know Max as he first was. We spend a lot of time with Max before he becomes the Road Warrior, back when he was just this world's version of a cop, and even more than that, a family man. There are long lulls in the action too, but the pacing wasn't an issue at all, honestly, as the movie is relatively short. But upon my first viewing, and like many others' first viewings who were in a similar situation to me, this movie is a stark contrast to Fury Road, which might turn some off, kind of like it did with me initially. Although I will say that when the action does hit, it's very impressive and still holds up extremely well. The stunt work, car crashes, and chaotic editing make for an extremely fun time. Those are the portions where you can see how this movie is deeply embedded in the DNA of Fury Road. My issues with the movie are that I find the villains to be pretty lackluster. Like, yeah, they're despicable humans and all, but nothing about them is memorable. The movie also definitely shows its age, along with the smaller budget and a cast where pretty much everyone outside of Gibson was and still is an unknown. For me, the movie works best when viewed as a prequel or prologue. Some hardcore Mad Max fans may disagree with that, and I am not trying to discourage people from watching whatsoever. but I don't think it's the most necessary watch either. The minute-and-a-half long recap at the start of The Road Warrior summarizes everything perfectly in a fraction of the time. It doesn't hurt to know who Max was before he became the Road Warrior, but having seen this multiple times now, one could easily skip over this and be perfectly fine. Nevertheless, I do still encourage everyone to check it out if you haven't. Though I personally don't find Max to be all that interesting of a character, it doesn't hurt to have this information to better understand why Max becomes who he is in the sequels. My number 3 pick for today, getting the bronze medal, is Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior. In a lot of ways, The Road Warrior feels like George Miller's first attempt at making Fury Road. He just didn't have the resources or experience to fully realize his vision at the time. There is so much here that is shot for shot remade in Fury Road, and I kind of loved that. Though this one has quite a bit more build up to that final big chase sequence, and besides that, it doesn't really have all that much action at all. There's a much heavier focus on the story and Max's journey in here than there is in Fury Road, I find anyway. Whereas Fury Road had much more world building, better side characters, and epic action set pieces galore. Speaking of side characters, once again, none of these side characters really impressed me at all. I didn't find any of them to be relatable, and I didn't care if they lived or died. I felt nothing for any of them. The villains I also found extremely uninteresting once again too. Lord Humongous, or whatever, was just a beefcake with a few lines, and then you had the red mohawk guy in a thong that just spent the whole movie trying to act wild and crazy. However, I did love Max's stoic nature. I love what he becomes in this sequel, and the voiceover that kicks us off and closes us out really hit home with me. What you're really here for is the action though, and it goes even bigger and better than the original. More cars flipping, more explosions, more blood and bodies. The final chase/action sequence in particular was a total blast. I can see why people have always raved about this one so often. What a fun, well-paced movie and a magnificent precursor to the more modern Mad Max movies in Fury Road and Furiosa. Claiming that runner-up spot is going to be Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga. Now this is cinema. George Miller, you crazy bastard, you've somehow done it again. Honestly, my only gripes were the occasional over-reliance on some ugly green screen/CGI, and the last third of the movie felt a bit rushed. Yes, I said rushed, with a 2.5-hour runtime. It glosses over the 40-day wasteland war, and Anya Taylor-Joy becomes the Furiosa as we knew her from Fury Road a little too quickly for my liking. There's really no build up to her getting her mechanical arm or cutting her hair. Maybe it wasn't needed in George's mind, but those are like the two most identifiable aspects of the character, so I was hoping for a bit more. And with all of the stellar action throughout the movie, it's a bit of a bummer that they just kind of narrate over such an important event. If nothing else, my guess is these things were done to fit a mandated maximum runtime. The rest, though, was pure perfection. Unfiltered, unflinching, madness-fueled, beautiful chaos. Everything you loved about Fury Road is here, and at times on an even bigger, more insane scale. Hemsworth is wonderfully unhinged, and Taylor-Joy is truly magnificent. The young Furiosa, played by Aliyah Brown, was spectacular too, and deserves far more credit considering she plays the character for a full hour of the movie. I love how they brought back familiar characters while introducing us to plenty of new, equally as memorable new ones. I loved the subtle nods to what's to come later in the timeline, and the various callbacks or call forwards. And I absolutely adored the way everything tied back together in the end. It genuinely is a flawless companion piece to Fury Road in that respect. In the end, Furiosa was exactly what I needed it to be. An epic saga for the ages, and one of, if not the best prequels ever made. I am still reeling from my experience. Go see this movie ASAP and on the biggest screen possible. And number 1, to nobody's surprise, Mad Max Fury Road. Look, I'm going to be straight up with you. I knew this was going to be number 1 all along. Unless Furiosa somehow ended up being the greatest action movie ever made, it wasn't going to beat this, at least for me. The long and short of it is this. I think this is a masterpiece, to put it simply. Not only would I say this is arguably the greatest action movie ever made, but it is in my own personal top 10 movies of all time. I just love it. Every time I rewatch it, it feels like the first time all over again. And sure, some people make the argument that there's no story or that Max isn't in it enough or whatever else, but I just don't see it that way. The performances are great. Yes, with Charlize Theron's Furiosa being the standout, but Immortan Joe is a phenomenal villain too. The world building is flawless, and then you have the grand definition of epic action set pieces that remain unrivaled to this day almost 10 years later. The practical effects are superb, the stunt work is immaculate, and the editing is chaotically stylish. Speaking of style, I love the style of this movie. It feels genuinely original and was so refreshing at the time, even still refreshing now on rewatches. The desert setting, the many vehicles and costumes, everything about this movie is so unique, and the world somehow feels so real and lived in. I could go on and on all day about how much I adore this movie and the many reasons why. It is George Miller at his most twisted and unfiltered, and I think that movie history is all the better for it. A one-of-a-kind flick that has lived in my own head rent-free for almost 10 years now, and will likely continue to do so for a very, very long time. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments below if you agree or disagree with my ranking. While you're at it, don't forget to let me know how you would have ranked all 5 of the Mad Max movies. As a reminder, this is the revamped BAMTube movies, and it is your one-stop for everything movies. Be it rankings like this one, video essays, top 10s versus videos, tier list videos, I have it all and so much more, along with your daily nerdy news wrap-ups. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that little bell icon so you don't miss a thing. As always, folks, I thank you all so very much for watching. Stay happy, healthy, and safe out there. From myself and the rest of the BAMTube team, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.